Welcome everybody to our City Council meeting tonight. Tonight's invocation to be given by John Palms of the Kingsburg Task Force, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Well, Father, I'd like to just ask you, whenever I'm asked to pray, how do you want me to pray? What is it you want me to pray? And you guys, what's coming to my mind is something that the Lord showed me earlier this year was that in the end of the book of Matthew, Jesus tells the disciples, he said, go into all the world and make disciples of nations, not making disciples of individuals. Well, he told me earlier this year, he said, John, making disciples of nations starts with making disciples of cities. And I said, really? And so my sense is he wants to make a disciple somehow of Kingsburg. I don't know what that looks like, but he does. And so, Father, I just pray right now for the second month of this year, and so God, I just pray for each of the people around this whole circle, Lord, who care about the city, who are giving their hearts, their knowledge, their wisdom for setting up directions for our city. And so, Lord, I pray for them that as we look at how do you make a disciple out of a city, what does that even look like? Then I just pray for wisdom for that. But I pray for wisdom for each one in their own individual, their work, whatever their position is here. That you would just give them amazing wisdom as they set forward things for this year, so that our city works well together. And so, Lord, I just pray for this whole coming year, for things that would happen. Lord, I love just what I saw on Thursday at our last task force meeting, Lord. So many people who were there, who are dedicating themselves to say, we want to see this happen for our city. And Lord, to me, that was just amazing to see all those people gathering together to say, what can we do to make our city work better? And so many people offered so many different things. And so, Lord, I thank you for that. And I just pray your blessing on this coming year. And I pray all these things now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, John. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Abby, can you please take roll call?
Councilmember Silva?
Present.
Councilmember North? Here. Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Palmer?
Here.
And Mayor Purcell Jr. has a previously approved absence for tonight.
Thank you, Abby. Next, we need to approve the agenda. Action by council to approve the agenda or to make modifications. Items that can be added to the agenda is constrained by state law. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Motion second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries. Thank you. Next on our agenda is presentations. Tonight we have one by Carly Guerrero, Stanford LEAP Internship Program Participant. Please come on up, Carly.
Good evening. Thank you all for having me tonight. I really appreciate it. Like Mr. Palomar said, my name is Carly Guerrero, and I've lived here in Kingsburg my whole life. I've lived here in the Valley my whole life. I graduated from Fresno State this past May with a degree in chemical biology, where I decided I would like to go the pre-medical route for my future career. And yes, this past October I started an internship program through Stanford School of Medicine. It's called the Leadership Education for Aspiring Physicians. And it really focuses a lot on looking at health inequities, and the goals to reach health equity across the United States as a whole, California specifically, but most importantly, we're able to take a look at our own individual communities and see where needs are and what needs need to be met, and it kind of just gives us a platform to address those needs and really move forward to making a difference within our own community's health and wellness. So as part of my internship program, I am creating a capstone project. And my capstone project idea kind of stemmed from my own walk in college. I was diagnosed with a neurological disease midway through college, and it's a lifelong disease. And I really understood the weight of what chronic disease means during my time walking through that journey, really opened my eyes to the fact that there are so many individuals that are facing chronic diseases all around me, all across the United States and further the world. In fact, 6 in 10 Americans are facing a chronic disease diagnosis, and nearly 80% of those diseases, they can be prevented if we take the right action and we address them with the right means. So going back to trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my project, I really decided that I wanted to focus on chronic disease prevention, education, and then ways to mitigate it for people who are facing the diagnoses already. So I created kind of a vision for a weekend of wellness events and opportunities for the citizens of Kingsburg. And I've been working closely with Councilmember Smith and have been also working closely with the Kingsburg Healthcare District and the Kingsburg Elementary School District, and formed some really incredible partnerships to see this event come to life and be possible. So we are planning to have opportunities for a pickleball tournament that will benefit the Kingsburg Education Foundation, and that will be in partnership with Kingsburg School District. We are also planning to have this event held. The pickleball tournament will be held at Rayford Johnson, but the majority of this event will be held at the Memorial Park on April 27th, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we will have some fitness classes, all free events for people to pickleball. Sorry, not, but the events at the park are going to be free. So I really wanted to create a space where everyone felt encouraged and welcomed and supported. So we have a lot of local gyms stepping up to provide 30-minute fitness classes ranging from high-intensity interval training to yoga, Pilates, Zumba, etc. We have made some awesome connections. We are also planning to have a health resource fair for individuals to connect with local medical professionals, people that are working in mental health, ranging from chiropractors, anything that falls under the umbrella of what it means to be well. We're inviting to join the health resource fair. And we're also going to be having a farmer's market component just to encourage nutritional well-being, and also putting on a mobile health clinic and a blood drive for screenings and being able to donate to the blood centers. And we are facing such a shortage right now in the valley, so it's an essential component of the event. And then finally, one of my favorite things about the event when I was creating it is creating educational workshops for people to come and gain valuable information. During my walk in my journey, I had to really advocate for myself, do a lot of research, and being in the rural Central Valley kind of leaves way for, it's just difficult to navigate the health field in the valley at times. So I really wanted there to be an opportunity for people to come and receive an educational component and walk away feeling like, okay, I can do this. Like, I can keep continuing on and establishing and working towards the goal of whole body wellness. So all of this to say, I am so thankful for the city of Kingsburg. Kingsburg and the community of Kingsburg, I'm going to get emotional here. Kingsburg has really shaped me into the individual that I am today. And being able to come from a community that believes in young individuals is so powerful. And I'm just beyond blessed. So super excited to have this event happen in the near future, and would love if anybody has any input, or if they would like, if they have any further questions or would like to be involved. On the flyer, there's a QR code that you can scan, and you can submit your email to get updates. And then also, Stacy has my contact information as well. So if you know of anybody that would like to be involved, we would love to have them be a part of this event. So thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Carly. Next on our agenda, we have public comment. This is time for any citizen to come forward and address the city council on any issue within its jurisdiction that is not listed on the agenda. A maximum of 5 minutes is allowed for each speaker. Do we have anybody that would like to address the city council on anything not on the agenda? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Next on our agenda, we have consent calendar. Items considered routine in nature are to be placed on consent calendar. They will be considered as one item and voted upon in one vote unless individual consideration is requested. Each vote in favor of the consent calendar is considered and recorded as a separate affirmative vote in favor of each action listed. Approval of the consent calendar items include recitals, reading ordinances by titles only, and adoption of recommended actions contained in staff reports. Tonight we have 5.1 through 5.12. Does any council member like to pull a consent calendar item?
No.
No. Anybody from staff or the public want to pull a consent calendar item? Okay, no, then can I get a motion to approve consent calendar?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope, okay. Motion carries, thank you. Next, we have regular calendar. 6.1, fiber optic broadband update. Staff report by City Manager Alex Henderson. Presentation by Reggie Gerke, President, Kingsburg Media Foundation. Come on up, Reggie.
All right, council members, city staff, thank you for having me again here. And I will try to go as quickly as I can through this because we have a lot of updates, but I want to make sure we get all your questions answered. So we're going to talk a little bit about construction progress, our deployment map, some new partners that we have along the way, current marketing plan, and then two things that were side benefits of this project were the public Wi-Fi and the public safety cameras. So wanted to give you an update on how that's looking now that we're moving forward. So from a construction standpoint, all the underground construction is complete in the city of Kingsburg. We do have one more route that has to go north towards Parlier. That'll be our redundancy in case we have any issues on Golden State. But we do have another backup in the meantime to make sure there's no loss of services should something happen to that. But that is happening hopefully here in the next couple of months. It's just waiting for some permitting from Fresno County at this point. So that doesn't have any effect on the usability of the network. It's just a little extra safeguard to it. So where are we at on getting customers hooked up? As of, this was a couple days ago, we are up from 25 active residentials to 44, so almost doubled in that time. Businesses from 27 up to 33 now. We still have between residential and businesses about 127 to transition, so making some progress. We've got 31% of our residentials done and 55% of our businesses done. These numbers tend to change month to month because we get more people signing up, so it may seem like we're not making progress when you look at the percentages, but it's actually because we have that many more signups in the result of it. So, yeah. These two maps, the one on the left is the one I want to have you guys look at first. This is our current deployment where you see the green circles. That is where we have services active, up and running, and ready to go, and have started connecting people to it. We had a little bit of a delay because of weather slows us down a little bit, and trying to plan accordingly to know we have enough time to get stuff done before it starts to rain on us. But looking at the map on the right, this is our what we're expecting to have done in the next 2 weeks. So some pretty significant growth now that a lot of the little pieces of the puzzle behind the scenes are now done. It makes it a lot faster for us to deploy these parts of it. The reason this is a lighter green over here is because we're going to use a slightly different technology, same technology, different vendor, I should say. So that's helping us keep track of what's in what location. Basically, the entire west side of Highway 99 will be one vendor, and the east side will be a different vendor. As far as the customer is concerned, there's no difference. It's just we had another vendor that wanted to do a little experimenting with us, but in a good way, not in a way that they've never used the equipment, but they wanted to work with us on this project too. So it's actually a good thing. The lighter green area here, we were actually working on today, and I think we got about 50% of that done just today alone. So they'll be back at it again tomorrow. It works out to be, once we have the right map completed in the next 2 weeks, that will give us approximately 22-23% coverage, total coverage of town. So it seems kind of low right now, but that's going to grow really fast. My expectation is late March, we should have full coverage for every customer that we currently either have or is on the sign-up list. So we're looking at about six or 7 weeks. The majority of that will be green. Like I said, we're focusing on where there are signups and where there are current customers in a way to be the most efficient, so we don't build an entire area for nobody while leaving somebody else waiting. So that's, yeah. Any questions on that?
So you anticipate having everybody signed up or that's converted by late March?
That is our goal, yes.
Okay, very good.
Barring an act
No,
of God,
just-
yes. We should be, we're heading that direction at least, yep. In fact, I think, yeah. All right, so a couple of updates on some community partnerships. We've been working with the Fresno Housing Authority with Marion Villas and Linnea Villas. We are hooked up in both locations now for them, and we are able to provide high-speed internet to the residents there for $10 a month through that partnership, with them helping with some of the funding of it too. So really big deal to make sure that they're getting access to the internet they need. We've also started working with the elementary district we put a bid in for their E-rate services that come up this year. They're up. We should know April whether or not that goes in, but we are also going to be providing some backup services, internet services for them also. Any day now that'll be getting connected. And so at the same time, we're still establishing that relationship.
Hey, Reggie, real fast.
Yes.
So the slide before this community partnership, anybody in the Marion Linnea Villas, are they part of, I'm sorry, the previous slide where it showed the numbers?
Oh, this one here?
Yeah, are they part of those numbers at all, or you haven't actually signed up anybody in, say, Linnea Villas?
So in Marion Villa, I know we have, I want to say 5 or 6 active customers already in there.
Okay.
And a couple more that we're just getting scheduled to get them connected. And then also in Linnea Villas, we just did another workshop with them yesterday.
Okay.
And I believe we have plans to start installing people, I want to say next week there. And we had 10 signups there. And there's more coming in. It's just those are the ones that happen to be at the workshop. So they're all telling their friends and working on it too. And then the Housing Authority is doing a really good job of working with all the customers within there too. It's not one of those situations where the Housing Authority said this is your only option, but they said, hey, this is a really good option and we're partnering with them. And we really encourage you to do this because it's going to save you a ton of money. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
For the elementary school district, I remember when we were first talking about this project, and I can't remember the exact conversation, but I remember there was talk about if a school was involved in this, that it impacted funding or percentages or something if we had a school district as a partner.
So that would have been most likely the ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program that you're thinking of. I know we've had a lot of families that have signed up with that have needed a letter of statement from the school district, and they've done a really good job of getting that for us, and that's kind of that partnership part of it.
I think it was if we were their provider. There was something to that. You don't recall?
I know we were going to work on, see, some of that changed.
Okay.
Because the ACP program actually ends at midnight tonight for signups, unfortunately. It didn't receive any additional funding. But with that said, kind of a side note to that, we told all of our current ACP customers that we're going to honor their rate that we're charging them through the year. We're kind of anticipating maybe this will get some funding later on when they start to realize the impact that that's going to have. So we're going to keep that the same. But our goal was also with, and I believe I've had this conversation with Jason Wood also, if we provide for the school, part of that is we also offer a program towards students and make it an easy way for them to sign up and utilize the internet too. And then that comes with discounts too that we'll work out through the E-rate program. All right, so you each have one of these door hangers. This is our current promotions that we're running related to this. We wanted to wait before we did a lot of marketing until we had a lot of green on that map, and we're feeling comfortable with it now. So what we're going to do going forward is, as our technicians are installing equipment, they're going to go and hang this on every door that's within the coverage area to start with. And then we'll have these available elsewhere too, but eventually one of these will end up on every single house in town is our hope. The promotion that we're running right now is if you sign up within the coverage area, and you mentioned the promotion, it's your first 3 months are free. And that's with a 12-year agreement, or 12-month agreement, sorry, that is kind of standard for us anyways in that area. But it also, there's also no installation fee, which we're still running the no installation fee program because we preloaded on the front end a lot of equipment as part of the deployment, so there's not a big expense to an installation. So that's running right now. They scan the QR code, it'll take them to the Kingsburg Fiber website where they can sign up right there, and they can also see that map too to know if they're in that area. And then on the back side is our referral program, and this actually applies to anybody that's one of our customers within our entire coverage area in Fresno, Tulare, and Kings County there. Working on trying to encourage word-of-mouth marketing with this. It gives, if you refer somebody, you get a month free for every person you refer. On your third referral, you get a $100 gift card to a local restaurant. So our hope was with that we can kind of throw some help support business in town with it too, and bring some of that in. Now, if they're in Reedley, we'll give them a gift card to someplace in Reedley too. But we're going to try to push as many of them to Kingsburg as we can. So that's our current marketing plan where we're with this right now. We're going to see what kind of traction we get with this before we dig too much deeper into more marketing with it. So, any questions? All right. So as I mentioned, there's a couple of ancillary benefits to being able to do this project, and one of them is our public Wi-Fi system that we've had in the past. It's been a little spotty. It didn't work great all the time, but we're in the process of upgrading all that because the infrastructure is in place right now. And the goal with that was all along to provide free Wi-Fi in all of our main public places, so our parks, our downtown area, those kind of locations. Right now we've got all of the equipment upgraded, in Athwal Park and Downtown Park, or Coffee Pot Park, and it gives users an opportunity so they can connect to it for free, and you can pretty much do anything you need to for free. In a way to kind of dissuade somebody that lives within range from actually using the free Wi-Fi all the time, it does have a token timeout on it where you have to reconnect and everything. But if you're going to use it, there are two paid options, and they're really cheap. I think it's $4 for an all-day pass that's gives you all kinds of speed. You can do pretty much anything you'd want to do on it, and then some. And then there's a $1 one for a 4-hour pass that gives you comparable speeds. But on the free side, again, you can stream YouTube, you can work from the park, you can do your schoolwork in the park. This was just kind of an effort to, hey, if somebody really wants to throw a little at it, that'd be great, because we can use it to help maintain it and expand it too, is the goal of those funds. So like I said, we improved our free services, offering some paid services. Pending locations that we're working on right now is up and down Draper Street. There's already some there, but like I said, it's kind of hit and miss, but we're going to replace all that and bring it where it needs to be. Memorial Park will get upgraded, and then also the new dog park, as that's getting done, we'll make sure we have Wi-Fi over in that area too. So that's the public Wi-Fi side. Questions? All right.
Questions?
All right, and then last but not least, we'll actually have one more thing to talk about after this, but public safety cameras. So as you know, it's been probably about 2 years, I think, 2 or 3 years. We've been slowly working on deploying public safety cameras throughout town. A lot of them have been up for a while, so now we're in the process of replacing and upgrading. And now that we have a lot more bandwidth to work with, we're putting much better cameras in. They give us much better views and everything. So I wanted to see, you think this is going to work? Is this going to let me do this?
It's been running better.
Okay, we'll find out here in a minute. Oh, it's in the, there we go. See if it'll let me do this. Right, hey. I hope that's the right password. Guess we'll find out. Excellent. So I'll give you a little preview of some of those cameras that we've been using, and then some newer technology that we've been able to look at with some other vendors. I kind of wish the mayor was here tonight, because I know this is his baby, so that's okay. I can show him later. But without revealing too much information in the process of doing this, some of them will not display here because of some different things. But as you know, we had cameras in most of the city buildings already. These are now, that's all in there. In fact, this is us right there, I think. Yep. And then we've added some new ones. So this is in the area of, come on. This one, for instance, is in the area of 10th and Cam. It gives us a nice 360-degree view where we can see very well into that entire intersection. And this is just one camera hanging on the light pole. Real simple, not a big box anymore or anything, because it all just gets wired within there. And then you'll notice there are some blacked out areas. We are able to actually black out people's yards and houses, because I know there was a concern of some privacy situations. So this has allowed us, these cameras have allowed us to actually black out those areas. And that's actually built into the camera itself. We have to completely reset that camera if we want to change where that's at. So it's not something that can be removed within the recording later, to make sure we keep the privacy there. And then the other one I wanted to show you was, this is one, Chief, you'll probably, Chief still here? No, he left. And it's not going to let me go to it anyways. We have a new, there's a new camera that we have over at 18th and Kern, so over by Lincoln School, on the corner there, Lincoln School and Grace Church, looking up the overpass. There is, we've been working on needing to do a policy related to this particular camera, because it is a license plate recognition camera and a speed or it can capture speed, do vehicle counting, do all those kind of things. It's actually really, I wish I could have been able to show it to you, but a car drives by and it tells you what license plate it is, make, model, color, direction of travel, all of those things, and it'll count them too. So I know from a standpoint of, it's raining, I know from a standpoint of city engineering and everything, doing traffic studies, this will assist in that too. So that it's actually a really neat tool, but before we actually start gathering that data that comes off of it, we got to get some other paperwork in place. But we have one there it's in read-only mode right now. So if you log into it, you can see the data, but as soon as you log out, it deletes everything. So that's the cameras. And then, those are the plans again. One last thing I wanted to update you on that I didn't get into the presentation was the financial side of this. So we have been actively collecting subscriber fees since, when was it? Last year. Looks like about April of last year. So we're coming close to a year now, and through the take rate process of paying back the loan and then the addition, and then as it goes beyond that, we have collected. We're now up to just over $3,000 a month, just in the city's portion of that income that goes back to the city. So it's slowly getting there. We also came in under budget of our original plan of the about 3.6 million we were looking at. Came in at 2.4 million, so about $200,000 less than what we anticipated it costing. So that helps us get it paid back quicker and get that return back to you. So the current trend puts us still several years out as we expected, but we expect that number to, when we started at $1,800 a month and now we're up over $3,000, we've already doubled in 8 months what that return is to the city. So, yeah. Any questions?
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah.
So, Reggie, those numbers sound good, but how does this fit into the equation then? So if you're discounting, is that delayed money that comes back to the city, or how does that work? Can you walk me through that?
Sure.
So 50-50 split, what does that look
Yeah,
like?
so 50% of zero is still zero, right?
Yeah.
So Mr. Henderson and I, we did talk about it a little bit ahead of time to make sure that it wouldn't be a huge disruption to it. In the effort of trying to get more people to sign up for it, we feel taking a little bit of a hit on the front end will pay for itself in the long run because they do come with a 12-month contract. So we know if it's a $50 plan, yes, we're going to lose out on $75 of it, but we're still going to get the other, almost $300. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a hit, but hopefully it pays for itself in the end.
Okay, so it's a short-term loss for a long-term gain.
That's
basically
exactly what we're going for.
Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Any question from council? Reggie, can you talk more about the discounts for residents?
Okay.
Just kind of go over that again so that
Sure.
refresh our memory and.
Sure. So we have I can go back here. So our plans start at 75. Now we've actually been doing a little bit of research because these plans were all designed about a year ago now, and there's proving to be a little scale of economy coming into it too, where we're looking at maybe discounting these plans even more so. What does that mean for current subscribers? They're going to also receive that discount too. It's not going to be just new people are going to get it cheaper. But our goal is with that to try to find a little more streamlined billing process too. So there's really only maybe 1 or 2 or 3 options versus right now we have 6, right, just on the residential side. To make that a little simpler, and then it simplifies billing, and we can actually reduce overall costs on that too. Looking at market trends and making sure we stay competitive, I would say. From a discount standpoint, we automatically have our lower plan is discounted $25. Our $75 plan is discounted to $50, and that's for basically a student, a senior. I mean, you think of whatever box you can check for a discount, we'll accept it, and in a roundabout way, that basically became our starter plan for just about anybody in town. So That is there. ACP is, like I said, unfortunately ending today. There is funding for the next couple of months to continue paying current subscribers on that, but what I said earlier is we will continue to honor that $30 discount through the end of the year as of right now. Now, from the city's standpoint, that $30 discount is really only a discount on our side. It doesn't count against take rates. So if it's a $50 plan with the $30 discount for ACP, we still calculate it off the $50, not off the $20. Because we receive that $30 from the FCC over time.
Are you doing any advertising on social media?
We have been doing a little bit. We don't have a lot of following, unfortunately, but we're working on that. We give it to, we always make sure it makes it over to the city for their things, and the Chamber of Commerce too, and BID. I know BID's shared quite a few of our posts lately too. So,
Any other questions from council?
I have a question. I have a comment.
sure.
I think it might be good too, Reggie, if you have like maybe you've already thought of this, but like customer testimonials, right? People that have already signed up that are like, hey, this thing works fast. It's everything we need, and maybe putting that on, wherever we can.
Right. That's actually kind of in our next round of our campaign of getting that out there. As we build those, we'll find those and get them out there. And my hope is when I talk our next round, I'm talking over the next couple of weeks versus not months. Now that we have a good deployment going and lots of subscribers on it, we got a good base to go off of.
Okay.
You're in bid. Have you had vote notes do anything for you on that?
Yes. Yeah. Quinn shared some of our things, and then he was going to work on a video for us pretty soon too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any public comment on this agenda item? No? Okay. Thank you.
That was easy. Thank you.
Thank you, Reggie. Yeah, all right. Next on the agenda, 6.2, growth management allocation. Consideration of second round of allocations. Staff report by Community Development Director Holly Owen. Presentation by Community Development Director Holly Owen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and City Council and anybody out there who's listening too. We're here tonight for the consideration of the opening of the second round of housing unit allocations for 2024 under Kingsburg's growth management ordinance. Just to review, the growth management system was a referendum that was enacted in 2004 by the voters. It was brought about by concerns regarding unplanned and uncoordinated growth in the city. It was set in process as an ordinance that allows for 115 annual housing unit allocations to be made available at the beginning of each calendar year with a potential 2 rounds of applications. Under the Growth Management Ordinance, Council, if it may choose to do so, will open 2 rounds of allocations per year. One round is in September, and the second round, which is at the Council's discretion, could be authorized by Council at its first meeting in February, which is tonight. The first round for last year was completed in December of 2023. Council at that time awarded 105 units of single-family residential units. No multi-family units were awarded at that time. The action requested tonight, just to review, is not to evaluate any particular project, but merely to consider the opening of a second round of allocations, specifically for multifamily housing. We have had a level of interest expressed in a particular property here in Kingsburg, and we've had a couple of meetings with that developer. It was involving the Ratzlaff property, former Ratzlaff property, which was considered several years ago for a project that was known as Twin Palms. And they received all entitlements at that time, but did not go forward at the time with the project. So the current proposal is still in a conceptual phase. They've come in, they've talked to us, they've gotten some feedback from staff. We do not have a site plan review, a completed site plan review yet, but they know that this is, they're familiar with the allocation process, and they know that this is a step that they need to take to go forward with this proposal. You see also in your staff report, the Planning Commission and Council would review an allocation application should they decide to go forward with that. There is a timeline that I've included, which the number one includes this first meeting in February, and then there's a very specific dates given for the next steps that would need to happen for the allocations to be considered. The recommendation tonight is to consider the opening of that second round of allocation applications for the year 2024. You could also choose as a policy alternative not to award multifamily unit allocations at this time. This concludes my staff report. The allocation process is a little bit complex. It's always good to review it, I think, just about every time it comes before you, just to refresh our collective memories. So if there's anything I can answer for you, I'm happy to do so. Thank you.
Questions from council?
Question. So we have 35.
Well, we have actually for multifamily units at this point, we have 105. Yes, they've accumulated. Now, the discussion about how many to give and whether it's a phased approach or whether it's all at once is something that can be determined at a future meeting. There is a chart in your staff report just to kind of indicate what we've done in the past, and you see that there were some units given last December, but there are 105 total now. If you look back at those units.
Because they're very hard to come by in Kingsburg for multifamily ones. They don't come up to us.
You mean in terms of projects that are submitted? Yes, you are correct. The other thing to consider is that a senior housing is awarded sort of an extra allocation. They can double their allocations because they're considered a senior housing project. So that's also in the growth management ordinance.
And this would not be a project with the housing authority?
Well, it is a property that's owned. No, it would be a privately developed. They do have a number of projects in Fresno County. I reached out to various cities where they have run projects and developed projects, and have received some good feedback initially on that.
So who then will be managing this independent company?
Well, this is again a sort of at this point, these are discussions that are ongoing with staff and with the developer. They have their own management company that is currently employed, I believe, by a project that they manage in Sanger, and there's a couple of others too. So, it has been something that I've wanted to hear from them as to who will be on site and who is managing it and what kind of experience they've had. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions, Dave, or comments? Okay, go ahead.
Holly, what would be the rush in considering the opening in February? Why wouldn't we wait until September? Is there a risk at losing this particular project to some other project, or? Well,
developing tax credit funded affordable housing can be somewhat complex, and they run on their own time schedule too. There are certain actions that they need to take and approvals they need to get to line themselves up for tax credit financing. It's a whole different world in terms of funding. So I think that they feel like they're ready to at least take this step, and that way they're prepared if everything falls into place and for them in terms of funding and approvals, then they're ready to go, and they have requested at this point that we at least consider this now. So you are certainly free to wait until September, but I think this is a project worth consideration for this particular site and for Kingsburg at this time. Remember, too, we have a housing element that requires that we have affordable housing, low income and very low income, and this is one way that we have supported this in the past, and I have every reason to think we would like to do that in the future. That's entirely up to you, however.
Yeah, I think that's an important, really important point. Super important point. And, opening it up would allow us to phase it going forward, right? I mean, we could phase it like we did with the residential, or no?
You could. I think that's a conversation that staff and all of us would like to have with the applicant as to what their plan is, if they want to request all allocations at once, and they have told me that they want to phase the project over time in terms of construction. So, but I also know that for them there's a little more risk if they get a certain number of allocations now and then 3 years later they're ready for more, but for some reason something has happened and we don't have them for them. They want some guarantee that's in their pocket and they can move forward. So that's my interpretation of what is at stake now for them.
Thank you.
No, I like the project. I'm curious, though, Marion Villas and Linnea Villas, those are pretty much full.
Yes.
Okay. So there's definitely a need.
Yes, I mean, that would be my impression. Certainly they're tasked with doing that analysis, market analysis, and making sure that when they spend the commitment and the money and the time to, for this location, that they've done their due diligence in terms of what the demand would be, because I'm sure that what they don't want is vacant units, but that's that is up to them as it is up to any market rate analysis that would be done for other types of housing.
And did you say this is senior housing?
Yes.
And would it be similar to Linnea Villas where some market rate and some low income? Or they look at their income, their retirement income?
It's been proposed to me anyway at this point that it is 100% tax credit affordable housing. Now, how they slice that is not entirely clear to me at this point, but certainly affordable is a key word as we go forward, and it would help us check those requirement boxes for housing.
Has this developer said how many units he wants to build?
I think that's still a little under discussion. I believe it's just a little north of 100. I believe it might be 105, but we're in discussions about the size of the project and how it fits on the property, and we'll see what that ends up to be. It's pretty conceptual at this point. It will be processed as a planned unit development, like all our multifamily projects. It will go through that review as well as the allocations will come first, and you'll get a second review that will give you more detail, and then there'll be a planned unit development review.
Right.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may,
Yes.
I know it's and Holly did a good job explaining it, and it's hard to separate a potential project from the discussion tonight. So, we have a unique growth management ordinance, and so the allocations themselves, we tell developers, is sort of your ticket to get to the starting line. So if the council determines to open up a second round tonight, you're still gonna see an application if they submit an application. Nothing that you would be considering tonight with regards to opening up the allocations would be tacit approval of a future project. So the questions that you have are all certainly valid questions, and some of them we just don't know the answer to yet because they haven't been, we haven't unpacked them with the developer. But if they get to that point, then certainly you'll get to review them, and we'll have to, judge them based upon the growth management ordinance. So if it's not a good project, just like in a normal cycle, then there's no requirement for you to approve that project at a future date. So just there's some clarification there with regards to what the consideration is tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any further council discussion or questions? Public comment on this agenda item? Anybody have a comment on this agenda item? Okay, bring it back to council. We have a decision to make here tonight. Consideration of opening a second round of allocation applications for 2024 limited to residential multifamily units.
Given the scope of the project and how it meets our housing element portion, I'm in favor of opening it up. And we can always, look at it, phase it, do the things that we can sculpt it at a later date. But let's see what they bring to the table. If it fits the mold for Kingsburg, then I think, I know I'm in favor of opening it up in February. So I'll make the motion to do that and go forward with opening up the allocations in the month of February, if that's the correct motion to make.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Ollie. Thank you. 6.3, Fresno Council of Governments Notice of Transportation-Related Funding Awards. Report by City Engineer Dave Peters. Presentation by Dave Peters.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. So back in July, Fresno County Council of Governments solicited grant applications for the Congestion Mitigation, Air Quality, Carbon Reduction Program, and Surface Transportation Block Grant programs. The CMAQ program funds projects that reduce emissions and relieve congestion. The Carbon Reduction Program funds projects that reduce carbon emissions, and the STBG program funds maintenance and safety projects on major collector and arterial roadways within jurisdictions. Staff back in August presented council with 9 candidate projects. Council directed staff to submit applications on 6 of those projects, and we were awarded 4. So with Abby's help, I just want to roll through the 4 that we, please. The 4 projects that we were awarded. First one is the Gilroy Mariposa 18th Avenue roundabout. So as you know, we've had a series of concerns at this intersection because it's very congested in the morning, during school drop-off. Been a area of concern for a lot of residents over the years. So this would help improve safety and also relieve congestion. And you'll notice the center of the roundabout's offset too, so it's not going to like blow out corners of properties. It actually fits pretty well within that pork chop island area. So next one is a pretty simple project. It's reconstruction of 18th Avenue from Earl to Sierra. So last summer we did Kern to Earl, so this just completes it all the way up to Sierra. Next one. One after that. One more. This project is to install electric vehicle charging stations in our downtown area. This is one candidate location. It may shift around as we kind of scope the project. We're anticipating installing 4 to 6 charging stations. And if you go up, Abby, just a little bit, I just want to point out there's like 3 different levels of charging. So level 1 would be like plugging it into a standard outlet at your house. Level 2 charger is a 240 volt charging station. It's kind of what most public chargers are, and then the third one is the level 3 rapid charger, so it's like a Tesla charger. We're anticipating installing the level 2 charger, so you should be able to be there for an hour or two, and maybe it doesn't charge the entire vehicle, but will give you quite a bit of charge there in a short amount of time. And then last project is enhancing 3 of our crosswalks throughout town that currently have in-pavement lights. So over at Rayford Johnson and Sierra, at 10th and Union, and at 18th and Kern. So they were effective. So they had the flashing lights in the pavement and the flashing signs. They were effective when we installed them. They've been a real maintenance problem over the years. And so this project removes those and replaces them with the rapid flashing beacons. So that's similar to what's over there by Safarge and Field said. This is just an example of what's out there now. And if you would go to the next slide, that's what we'll end up having. So these are very effective, low maintenance. And so we're just kind of going back and enhancing those crosswalks. So there's no action required tonight. This is just an information item. The COG is anticipating programming these projects towards the end of this calendar year, so we'll get to start working on them in 2025. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from council?
I have a question on the roundabout. Can you go to that picture, please?
Wanna go
A
back to
couple
that?
questions. Okay, so the hospital district right there,
Yeah.
are we going to have to acquire some of their land?
I'm going to say I hope not. So I mean, it's clipping it just barely with the sidewalk. This is a kind of a preliminary conceptual design for our grant application. Hopefully, no. That's the idea.
And then the second question is, how our other roundabout, we have it like for the semi trucks where we're not going to have that there, right? Because they're not supposed to be on that road. Like, is it going to help us with semi trucks?
Yeah. So this will be a smaller roundabout, and you can see the hatching in the splitter islands and actually in the center of the island. So this is proposed as a mountable roundabout. So it'll be have a circle, it'll be mounted up, but it'll be reinforced concrete. So emergency vehicles would be able to pass through there. But yeah, this would not be designed to accommodate
So
the
it
big
could
trucks.
help
So I
us
think
with
it
our
would.
issue.
I think it would deter that sort of vehicle from wanting to go.
Because I know we've had a lot of citizens
Yeah.
complain about that road with the semi
Yeah,
trucks still getting through there. So
Yeah, I think
might be
it would
helpful.
probably. I think it would help with that.
What are we going to put in the middle? An
As-
eagle? A
No,
weekend eagle?
nothing. So that was my point. So that's actually a mountable
Oh.
center circle.
nothing.
So yeah, so it'll be decorative, but it'll be concrete. It'll be reinforced. So if a fire truck or any other sort of emergency vehicle needed to get through there, they'd just be able to mount that island and get through there.
Do you think it's going to be like more helpful with the school traffic in the morning?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah. And like I said, we'll put a lot more effort into the actual design and refine it quite a bit between now and when we go to build it. But yeah, it should improve operations, reduce congestion, and hopefully improve safety as well. So
Thank you.
Those lanes are big enough for we have a lot of farm equipment that go through town also. Tractors on tractor trailers that are wider than a normal, even a big rig. So will they be able to get through that also?
Yeah, like I said, the splitter islands and the center island will be mountable. So I mean, if you needed to mount it with, like the big ag vehicles with like the double tires, you could actually mount up on those. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was more thinking like in the actual lane here and the lane here.
Yeah.
Those will be wide enough.
Well, I mean, we would have to look at the particular piece of equipment that you're talking about. I mean,
Right.
generally speaking, I would say yes.
Okay.
But if it's some ginormous thing with like, the dualies on the back and all that stuff,
Right.
They would still be able to pass through there. They just might mount up on some of that concrete, which is a typical, it's typical what happens when you have oversized vehicles.
Hey, when did we put in for these?
So the call for applications was in July, and we discussed the candidate projects with the council in August and got direction, and then we submitted them in September and early October. They were kind of
Okay, that was last year, 2023.
correct.
Okay,
And at COG, we voted
I don't remember a roundabout. For some reason, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was on the list.
I remember
project.
the other
It was-
ones.
it
I
was-
know. I
It was
remember.
part of the 9 projects that we proposed to the council, and it was part of the 6 that you told us to write grant applications on.
Wasn't there a couple wasn't there several roundabout
Not-
potential roundabout locations?
Not
We talked about.
Or,
Yeah, we talked about doing something at Sierra Street and 18th.
Yeah,
We
potentially.
We didn't really say it was going to be a roundabout one way or the other. We just said that, we could look at that project, and I think the direction kind of was not to do that.
Okay.
A lot of it probably has to do with the Sierra being a state highway, but yeah, I mean that was one solution. Other solution might have been, enhancement of the traffic signal, creation of a pedestrian scramble or something like that. But the discussion was let's not even consider that location.
okay. Well, I think the enhancement word is a great one, right? Because these are potential projects that are going to enhance the lives of the citizens
Oh, yeah.
and be a good thing, right? Just similar to the bike paths. I mean,
Yeah.
they're things that create safety.
Right.
They're things that create better flow in the town. They're things that enhance life in a positive way, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean-
Our approach with this one would be similar to what we did with the council on the Sierra and Bethel one. I mean, we'll bring preliminary designs in and kind of show you the progress as we're doing it. So
Was solar contemplated or part of the EV chargers, or it was just EV chargers only?
yeah, it was our project proposal was just electrical vehicle chargers. Yeah. So the idea, if you remember, when we did the downtown transportation plan, one of the components of that was trying to get, electric vehicle chargers down here so that people could charge, and then maybe they could use other modes of transportation to kind of go around our downtown while the vehicle's charging. So this is part of that kind of overall plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have any public comment on this agenda item? No? Okay, thank you, Dave. 6.4, Major Revenue Fund Update, Staff Report by City Manager Alex Henderson, presentation by City Manager Alex Henderson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, and members of council. As we do regularly, this is just a brief update with regards to our normal revenue collection. I'm going to talk about sales tax. So both Bradley Burns, which is our normal sales tax collection, and then obviously Measure E, which is our 1% public safety sales tax. Talk about property taxes. Motor vehicle license fee, which is essentially a subset of property taxes, but has some different legislation from the state of California. Our transient occupancy tax, which is our hotel bed tax, and then licensing and permits. So just as a brief refresher, this is our general fund revenue forecast for fiscal year 24 that was adopted which includes the vast majority of those large funds. So almost all the funds that we are talking about tonight are general fund related, obviously with the exception of Measure E, which has its own separate fund. So just a brief refresher in Kingsburg of where your sales tax dollar goes. You can see the breakdown there. As it relates specifically to the city, there's two 1%ers. So again, the Bradley Burns 1% and then the Measure E 1%. As we've discussed previously, Measure E has a much wider net. It collects funds from a much larger amount, which you'll see later, than the Bradley Burns. So Bradley Burns is point of sale. Measure E has some other things, like if you purchase a car, for example, in another jurisdiction, you're going to pay a percentage of your sales tax to that jurisdiction. But if you register your vehicle here, that 1% for that car purchasing is going to come back to us in the form of Measure E, regardless of where you purchase it in the state. You can just also see where the other portions go to, including the state. There's some special taxes in there, including Measure C and the zoo as examples. So this is a list of our top 25 sales tax remitters. This is in alphabetical order, so it's not based upon, the top one is not necessarily the top earner for us in sales tax, so we're actually not allowed by law to release that. This is a non-confidential list of just the top 25, which we are allowed to release. Oh, sorry. Well, let's see if I can go back here.
I can send
Yeah,
it to you.
can you,
Crystal.
you can go back. Shoot, yeah, that's fine.
Oh, you want me to go back?
You can go back one.
Food and gasoline stations.
Those are the big ones. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, so this is an example of essentially a 5-year snapshot of, this is, again, the Bradley Burns. So this is not related to Measure E. We'll see that in a moment here. You can see for 23-24, all the numbers in red are estimates as of right now. So all of sales tax dollars that we get are roughly 2 to 2.5 months in arrears. So at the end of this month, in February, we will get our sales tax portion for what was purchased in December. So you make a purchase at a store in Kingsburg, you paying that sales tax. That point of sale, that property is then remitting that sales tax to the state. They do some figuring, and then ultimately it comes back to us. So you'll see the third month of each of those, the bottom one for each quarter is always going to be the largest one because the state does what they call a cleanup. So the first 2 months are usually advances based upon some estimates that they've done, and then ultimately in the final month they'll do a true up. So if you think about like a solar bill through PG&E, ultimately they true up with us, and then that's why you see those third month as the largest. So there is a prediction just based upon current economic conditions, and then also what our third party sales tax analyst predicts to be a minor or roughly a 4%, 4.8% reduction from last year's number. So it's about, I'd say about $80,000 less than what we originally budgeted at the beginning of the year. So hopefully we'll see that not trend in that direction as the year continues, but those are the predictions that they have for the rest of this fiscal year. And again, Measure E, again, voter approved in 2018. As I discussed, they're more diversified. And we also received the full 1% of online sales. So you order something from Amazon. If you didn't have Measure E, a portion of that would go, you'd still pay taxes, but that would go into what they call a county pool. And then those funds are redistributed throughout the county based upon population. So for Kingsburg, we tend to lose money there because a lot of people purchase things online here through discretionary funding, but for Measure E, we get that full 1%. So we do see that benefit. So, for example, one of the top sales tax producers for Measure E is Amazon, but that's not the case for Bradley Burns. So a similar depiction here for Measure E. Again, numbers in red are estimates. They are projecting less than 1%, but slight growth over last year. I will note, though, that it is less than what they were projecting when we adopted the budget. Again, about $70,000 less than what was approved as part of the budget, but hopefully, again, we're still seeing modest growth in this fund. But you can see the difference, just an example here of the different, there's almost $1.2 million more collection in Measure E than there is in the Bradley Burns. And again, that's just part of the formula for a special use tax. So just talking about property taxes, this is just some background. Obviously, Prop 13 capped property taxes at 2% a year, or the base year plus CPI, whichever is less. So it's almost always at 2%. And then what's unique about California is that when property changes hand, there's a reassessment to current full value upon change in ownership. So we have seen some growth in the past few years, which you'll see here, which is somewhat related to just housing turnover, especially when rates were very low. And so if you had someone who was in a house in Kingsburg for a very long time and had a low property tax base, and then they sold that house, that property would get reassessed to a more current market value, and then obviously our share of that property tax would increase as well. I talked a little bit about this earlier, but the in lieu of vehicle license fees. So essentially a lot of accounting was done in the early 2000s in California because of severe fiscal problems, which there were things called like the sales tax triple flip, some ERAF, which is educational revenue augmentation, and then the property tax swap of motor vehicle license fees. But if you look at that last bullet there, in essence, VLF or vehicle license fees are essentially to be considered a subset of property taxes, which are collected by the city. So similar to sales tax, this is just an example of where your property tax goes. So this would just be your main property tax bill. I mean, if you look at your property tax bill in Kingsburg, it will have much more than just this on it, because there are other school bonds, other things that have been passed by the voters, SKF, things like that. So this just shows an example, a relative breakdown of where your dollar goes, and about 21% of that comes to the city. Transient occupancy tax, again, commonly referred to as a bed tax. So in 2008, voters increased this in Kingsburg from 8% to 12%. So in town, the Fairfield, Motel 6, Tavcam are the largest ones, but then we also do have a handful of Airbnb private rentals, and they also pay this 12% as well. It's part of their rentals. And then a large subset is just our general license and fees that we collect through regulation each year. So our business licenses, rec programs, planning and zoning, plan check fees, building permit fees, and other state mandated fees that we collect throughout the year. So again, just a breakdown here. We are showing a slight increase as we project right now. So the very large tranches of funds that we get through both property tax and motor vehicle fees, taxes are done twice a year, so in December and then again in May. So we've received roughly half of those top two lines as of today. So again, those are estimates. TOT taxes are collected quarterly. So when I put this together, we hadn't received our full, what we would call the second quarter, so that would be October, November, and December. And then permits and fees is just based upon current collections right now and then projecting through the end of the year. You'll see some of the permits and fees through previous years were certainly higher, attribute those to larger commercial projects, and then also the bulk of our single-family residential fees that we were collecting through that building. So some of that still continues, but not all at the same time. So if you're just going back and looking at sort of our projection for the beginning of the year, I would say the sales taxes are slightly down from where we originally estimated when the budget was adopted. Property taxes, motor vehicle fees, slightly up from where we originally projected. TOT, somewhat in line. So feeling relatively comfortable with regards to where we're at, roughly, a little more than halfway through the year, but our collections are not entirely halfway through the year, that we're in line with our original budgetary projections. One of the things I'll talk about, we've talked about this previously, and Chris made this mention too, is that you have a lot of service stations. So, fuel sales are a large portion of our Bradley Burns revenue collection, but as we project out over the next several years and as the state moves to more EVs and people move to more EVs, that will impact those revenue collections. It will be interesting to see what the state does in general, because that's how they fund the vast majority of their highway repairs and things like that. Is through fuel sales, obviously through registration fees as well. But as more and more people go to EVs, I think they're going to have to look at how they recoup those dollars, those lost dollars, through gasoline taxes, because obviously those cars are also still using the same roadways. And then, just from a more macroeconomic standpoint, I think that there has been for a year plus now a thought of, either recession or, different versions of either hard or soft landing. It seems to be trending more towards a softer landing, but I don't know. It's from the same economists who thought it was going to be a hard landing. So take that with the grain of salt, I suppose, at this point. But we continue to update that as we continue to look through the remainder of this year, and we've already started the initial processes of building out the fiscal year 25 budget as well. Any questions?
Questions from council? No?
It's too bad we couldn't get the Bradley Burns formula to be more like the Measure E formula, right? Because that would be super helpful. But I think the Measure E formula has worked well for the city of Kingsburg, especially for the fire and the police, and keeping a lot of those dollars back and making them really work for the citizens. And so it's unfortunate that the other Bradley Burns doesn't work that way, but it is what it is, right? And so I don't know how we change that. How do we change that now?
Well, there honestly are a lot of conversations about that because of the way that the state calculates sales tax formulas, and especially now that in the time of more e-commerce. And so, when you purchase something from Amazon, for example, and it gets the majority of that sales tax is going to go to the community that distribution center that has it, right? And so you have larger communities that have those distribution centers that are really fighting to maintain what the existing formula is, and then you have other communities, other cities that may not have those large warehouses that are arguing that they should, their residents are making the purchase. It's not being done in that community now, whereas it might have been, at a local store. It's now being done online. But there are still impacts to that, right? There's still impacts to the roadways because of all the delivery trucks, or there's impacts to other things, from that. And so there has been a lot of working groups. There has been some proposed legislation that would start to modify that. I think, because it's sort of a inner city fight. Some of the cities want it and some of the cities don't. There hasn't been a clear path forward to this point, but it's really a policy issue and legislative issue that we would, for Kingsburg, we would probably, so if you're Dinuba and you have a Best Buy distribution center, right, you're very in favor of the existing formula, whereas a community like us that maybe doesn't have those distribution centers, we would argue the other way, and so perhaps there's some common ground, but hasn't been agreement yet.
Any other questions from council? Public comment on this agenda item? Questions or comments? Nope. Okay, thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Council reports and staff communications. 7.1, Community Service Commission.
Yes, we met and we discussed how they'd like to see, what they'd like to see done with the grant opportunities. We received an update on the dog park, which is estimated to be completed this year. And we received an update on some current projects that are being done from community services grants that were received this year.
Thank you. 7.2, Public Safety Committee. We've not met since our last meeting. 7.3, Chamber of Commerce.
We meet next Tuesday, but I did want to remind you all that the Blossom Trail kickoff is on Friday at 10 o'clock in front of Berman's. And so are you going to be there?
I'll be coaching
3 of us
wrestling.
will be there. Okay.
Wish I could be there.
And I know that they have a lot of great things planned, including a pancake breakfast. Did you want to mention anything? Good.
No, other than I think it's going to be well attended. I mean, it's not going to be raining, which is great. They were really
27%.
worried about that. So
Looking good.
yeah, we're looking good there.
Thank you. 7.4, Economic Development.
We meet tomorrow morning, actually. So I'll have a report next council.
Next meeting, okay, thank you. 7.5, Finance Committee.
Yes, we met and we reviewed the budget schedule. We discussed the forgivable loan program. There is, the owner of the Stone Plaza has been inquiring about that. And then finally, we discussed the mid-year budget adjustments that we approved tonight in the consent calendar.
Thank you, Stacey. Planning Commission, we meet tomorrow night. 7.7, South Kings GSA.
We have not met, but I will say that I did reach out because I think that we should meet, and there's a couple agenda items that I wanted to be placed, on the agenda to meet. So hopefully I'm hoping that we'll have a meeting next month. I'm hoping.
Thank you, Dave. 7.8, Downtown Business Improvement District.
We met yesterday and they had a lengthy discussion about the website with 5 Creative and had some public input on that. They talked about Cal Euphoria, who is a social media influencer that they're partnering with. March 8th through the 11th, they'll be coming down and staying. They have like a big social media following. So they're going to be staying at the Airbnb that's above like Cup of Joy area and doing like stories and reels on local businesses, restaurants, and they're talking about maybe having the trolley involved somehow. So it's exciting to see them using advertising in different ways. Abby also was doing a review of like the bid docs, government documents, and the Brown Act because there's some new members on that group. That's it.
Thank you. 7.9, Council of Governments.
That's me too. Dave Peters pretty much gave my update. We approved the Surface Transportation Block Grant. He talked about the congestion mitigation, air quality funding with the roundabout carbon reduction program funding with the other 2. I have copies of the other things that we approved in the county also if you're interested in looking at that. We talked a long time about One Voice advocacy trip. It's One Voice priorities that go to DC March 17th through the 21st with regional priorities. There were 11. They got it down to like 8 after the conversation, and Mayor Purcell will be attending and advocating for our regional priorities during that time. We also talked about safe routes to school. It was a committee that was formed based on Measure C, where they're looking at 32 school districts and getting input on an inventory on needs of safe routes to and from school. I had talked with Alex a little bit before, and they've been talking to our school district, but we haven't been included in that conversation, and he's asked it. So I've volunteered to be on the subcommittee, so then we'll get to be part of that too. And FC RTA also update on 99. You know, Brandon loves to do this update, right?
Yeah.
So the newest update is it's still not done. And to add to it, in early to mid-March, 99 at 43 and Floral, is that 43? 41. 43 and Floral exit in Selma
Yeah, the exit.
will be closed for anywhere from 2 to 6 months.
That is a long time.
So come to Kingsburg for Dutch
Right,
Bros,
yeah.
since you can't get off at that exit, right?
Let's keep going, right? Yeah. All right, thank you. Oh,
Yeah, I think that was it.
okay, thank you, Laura. 7.10, council member reports. Anybody have anything?
I had one. The San Joaquin Valley Air Board met, and basically it was to elect small city representative and large city representative. So there was really no other items of business other than that. And then, Laura already reported on the Blossom Trail opening day, so that's Friday. So that's all I have.
Anybody else?
Stacy and I attended the task force meeting. It's on the first Thursday of the month. The next one is March 7th, but I don't recall where. Do you? The church?
The church, community
Community church is the next one. It's great for like any of our citizens that are listening, but also for anyone here in Chambers. It's a really good group to go to. Alex was there also. And it's just people in Kingsburg that have a desire to serve and coming together and seeing what the needs are in Kingsburg, what people have to offer. And every time I go, I get a lot out of it for like either resources for us in this job or in my day job, or just connecting families to resources. And Ms. Guerrero talked about the wellness event also there. But a couple of moms attended and brought up a really important subject. Their families have had to deal with situations in which they've had to use Narcan. And so those moms were talking about that, and when they were talking about Kingsburg and downtown, one of the things that they brought up was you never know when someone will need Narcan, and you might not even know if that's what they need, but if they're in that situation and you use it, it doesn't hurt them if it's not due to, and it's not just like illegal drugs, it could be a prescription drug, like somebody accidentally took too much or whatever the case is, it's not going to hurt them if you use it on them. And they talked about really wanting to get every business in Kingsburg to have it, because you never know, like when somebody's walking by or somebody comes in, and they talked about you can go into Rite Aid and ask for it, and they'll, did they say CVS also? I don't remember. They mentioned a few other places, and that they will give it to you for free, and they talked about it. And so I myself didn't know a lot about Narcan. I know in the school system, like, we have to be trained, but just to see like people in Kingsburg that have been affected by this and that it could save a life. So I just thought it was worth mentioning here tonight.
Yes, thank you, Laura. City Manager's Report, 7-11 City Manager's Report.
Just a couple of quick project updates. I promised the RRFB project is going to start this month. So Caltrans had initially required that their night work, and so we had to push back on that, and so I think we've finally broken through on that project, so that's slated for later this month. We've got a couple of questions because there's a project that's called the Kingsburg Rumble Strip Project, which is a Caltrans project that will, it goes from Road 16, which is Madison, to Road 56, so it's on State Route 201, but it's out of our jurisdiction, so I've reached out to Caltrans to try and get some additional information on the timeline because we weren't aware of it. It wasn't our application, and we've gotten some questions on it, which is why we're aware of it now. And so I reached out to Caltrans, and I think they're anticipating a spring start date, but I will provide more updates on that. And then we continue to work through the Golden State Boulevard project. We've had challenges, as we've talked about before, with all of our intersections related to the railroad. So if you've driven that stretch, you've seen that there's new pavement except for small portions which are at the intersections with the railroad because of their demands, which had driven up the project price pretty significantly for the entire 14-mile stretch. So I think there's potential for a path forward, and we're hoping to bring back some updates potentially in March, but we continue to work through that project as well, but has been delayed by the railroad. But that concludes my report.
Thank you, Alex. Future agenda items, we have none. Number 9, the Kingsburg City Council adjourns out of regular calendar into closed session. 9.1, conference with labor negotiators.
Here's other projects if you guys want to see what was funded. I don't know if you're interested.
That's not too bad.